Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lennon. How you guys doing? And welcome back to our Rome 2 faction focus. So the faction we are taking a look at today is, of course, the big, beautiful, and very interesting one named Carthage. So Carthage is basically the big opponent if you're starting to play Rome 2, because your first campaign will always be basically Rome. So your biggest, baddest opponent is probably going to be Carthage. So today we are taking a look at how Carthage can be played as you're by yourself. So we have a very interesting two passive traits, which we have an extra 15% wealth from commerce buildings, which is always good if you're starting off and building your economy from the ground up. And Carthage has the ability to hire a buttload of mercenaries. So this trade comes in very handy with minus 25% mercenary upkeep cost, which is probably going to be your savior at some point in this campaign. The Carthaginians have three different sub-factions, like dynasties to choose from, which does change off these traits. So we have one that gives a little bit extra experience to ships and resistance to foreign occupation, which can be very interesting since you have a lot of water and a lot of coastal territories that you could use this for, even with the ships and the expansion. The Hannoid dynasty gives you just a flat of 5% tax rate and some minor diplomatic bonus with all factions, which I think is decent if you're not going for a military victory, but otherwise you're gonna go to war anyway. So I don't know how useful this is for, let's say, a This is Total War campaign or some other challenge campaigns. And then we have the Barkid dynasty, and so we have some extra morale for all mercenary units and extra movement range for armies and fleets, which is also a very interesting one depending on what kind of campaign you're gonna play. So you would have to look at that for yourself. So we are going to take a look at the campaign map, so I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so here we are on the campaign map as Carthage, and as you can see, as Carthage we have a very splintered empire, I would say, but we are quite a big empire at the start of the game. So Carthage draws its strength from being mobile and having different points of entry to get your conquest going. So let's go first through their diplomatic situation, because it does get a little bit more complicated over here. So as Carthage, we have already met a really good amount of factions to either trade with or be at war with. And as you can see, there are a lot of factions that hate us and like us. So we start off with one war against the Turatani over here in the Spanish regions, Iberian region, I should say. And we have two satrapies or client states, which is Nova Carthago, which controls the uppermost part of Africa and one faction in Iberia, and Libya, which is a friendly faction, also client state, that controls the rest of our home province of Africa. So these guys are really good client states. They will probably help you out in probably every war you go in. These guys will not betray you that fast, so you can pretty much rely on them being present in your wars, but don't expect them to fight a lot of wars for you. So here in the African region, we still have a few smaller factions that really, those guys don't like us, these guys don't like us, so you'll probably have to fight some wars over here. And with that coming in, that is going to be your biggest challenge in the early game campaign, is your conquest. So as a large empire, we start with one fleet and two armies, one in Iberia and one in Africa. So where do you want to expand to? And basically your options are limitless. Since we started war, we already are at war over here in Iberia, it would be a very interesting idea to just conquer Iberia and just don't do anything with the rest. But at some point you're gonna get your hands forced by either Rome or Syracuse declaring war on you, or one of the African factions declaring war on you. So basically, with playing Carthage, you're always gonna run into having to switch over fleets or armies, and always having multiple fronts in your empire. So one thing I'd like to do is try to get either Massaili as a friendly faction and send Libya after Garmanthia, so that we have the control of the entire North Africa Peninsula under friendly control. So I can focus either on going over here towards Syracuse and Rome, and going towards here towards Iberia. So those are your early game conquest options. You could go straight into Rome, but that is basically asking for suicide. So what do we have that can help us around in our conquest? So Carthage has 2 military buildings. So we have one that, well, 3, 2.5 basically. This is for our artillery, basic artillery. We do also have snakebot ballistas, which are interesting. I don't use them a lot, but they're fun to use. But we have our muster field, which is our basic recruitment field, and it ups into 2 different lines. And one, we have the barracks, which gives us our cavalry and our infantry, and including the elephants and the African war elephants. And our other, which gives our basically only our Libyan peltast. So as Carthage, you don't have a really big range component. The only unit you can build is the Libyan peltast, and that's basically your entire range squad. You do have the ability to build Carthaginian hoplites, Carthaginian cav, which is decent. Carthaginians are pretty damn sturdy for an early game unit. And as a tier 3, you get the African pikes. So you have a little bit of the defensive builds with the hoplites and the pikemen. But you do have some sword units to back them up with the Libyan infantry, which is a pretty decent sword unit, but for tier 3 it's not the best. It won't go toe-to-toe with Roman mid-tier infantry. So yeah, you should be aware of that. But including that, you have the help of either African elephants or some noble cav, which are pretty decent cav units. And of course you can get the Sacred Band, which are absolutely, basically nearly undefeatable in my opinion. Those guys absolutely rock. Combine that with a few African pikemen and a few elephants and some cav, and you have a army to fear and to deal with basically every situation. But however, Carthage has been always in history with hiring mercenaries. So in the game that is no different. You have a very big pool of mercenaries, which include like the African mercenaries. So we have Numidians, javelins, cav, but also combined with the barbarians and the Iberian mercenaries as well. So we also have like noble horse, for example, Numidian jav, and then Scutaris, noble swords, Scutari, which are all Iberian units. Even some mercenary Celtic light horse and some Italian swordsmen from over here. So as Carthage, we have a very big emphasis on mercenaries and mercenary availability. So that's why I said one of the first, I believe it was the first dynasty you could choose, which had like minus 25% upkeep cost for these guys. Because these guys are still expensive. Like the noble horse is still $500 a turn. And the noble fighters are 530 as well. So minus 25%, that could help you out a long way if you have to rapidly expand or rapidly have to defend your settlement against an oncoming threat that came out of nowhere, out of the fog of war. So that is something that Carthage is really good in, like utilizing mercenaries to your advantage. So as a playability, Carthage is a very fun campaign, very diverse, because you can go everywhere you want. Basically, you have no one way to go. Like if you're Bactrian over here, you only can go this way. But like Carthage can go towards Iberia, you can go towards over here, you can go to Rome. And if you don't want to deal with Rome, that's good. Just go south, take Africa, go east, take Egypt, and over here, maybe do like a Hannibal Barca situation where you take Iberia and then move over towards here and take Rome from either top and bottom. So you have a lot of options to play with, a lot of diversity. The only thing you don't have a lot of diversity in is your units, but that gets countered with the mercenaries. So I would give this for playability and challenge wise definitely 8.5 to maybe a 9.0. Due to the fact that it's a really diverse campaign. You face a lot of different fighting enemies: Iberians, Romans, Greeks, desert units, and barbaric units. So you face a lot of different factions as well, which needs you to adapt to every situation, which I find is a very interesting idea in the campaign. So for this Total War challenge, it gets challenging because you start off with 2 or 3 different fronts, but it is doable because your units thrive in being outnumbered. Like the hoplites are steady enough that they can beat an onslaught if you have some cav or some noble fighters or some Libyan infantry to back them up. So you have the ability to put a smackdown on barbaric units with elephants, and so you have a lot of diversity and a lot of things that you can adapt with. So yeah, even in a Total War, which is a challenging situation to start off, I think it can be a very interesting and fun campaign to play. So definitely putting this one at the top of the list at a 9.0 so far. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to leave me in the comments more factions that I should do for this faction focus. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.